Barely any cubes on the secondary.
I saw that. What are we down to? 15 or 18 or something like that?
So 15 potential paper hands. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. I was looking back. I guess it's been a little longer than I thought the last time we did one of these. My notes, I think I had down in October, so right after, not long after Breakpoint, I think we circled up, and then it's kind of been it's been a lot going on, but it's been kind of quiet.
Yeah. I mean, things have been looking pretty dead on the outside here, but I can assure you guys that at least Craig has been working around the clock.
Right.
Usually, like he's like answering messages in the middle of the night, or his night at least. So
that was true. The other, was it a week ago? Yeah, you caught me at about 3 a.m, I think.
So yeah, things are happening. I can assure you that, even though it may not look like that. So we've got quite some stuff to talk about today as well.
Yeah, and this is good. So, and Benny, I don't know how, if we want to give it a couple more minutes here, let folks come in. Yeah, this is great. I mean, I appreciate you kind of pushing me a little bit to get this on the books right away this week, just because I've been so focused on some of the upcoming interviews and stuff that I have going on as part of the promotion in February. So there's going to be a lot coming out, I think, not just here today, but then over the next few days and the next couple of weeks, we're going to be putting out a lot of content, and I'll be out there talking about the project and the things we've been working on as much as possible. So but I this is great. I think it's a good idea to try and get as much of this out to the folks who are actually in the chat with us and have been watching and part of it since the beginning. So
Absolutely. I said 5 minutes, so there's 1 minute left until we officially kick off. So but yeah, it's starting to be a few guys checking in here.
cool.
So having said that, I think you can. Okay, there's a new rule. So that game is not allowed because it's gonna take away a lot of the focus.
Whoever made that, wherever that came from, that oiled up Michael Wagner is just, man. I don't know if it's ever going to get better than that.
It must be the best GIF of all time in Star Atlas, I think. At least that's what I would vote it as. Anyhow, I think we're ready to just start kick it off. So welcome everybody. We're doing this in the chat today, so if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat, or you could get up here and ask your questions as well if you want as we go through. But we have quite a few stuff to talk about today, and Craig is the man. It's gonna be.
We'll see.
We'll see. Absolutely the man.
All right. Hopefully that's the case. All right. We'll get going here. We'll kind of dive in because I got a decent list, so I'm gonna really have to watch the time here and try to keep it to about an hour. Like I said, it's been a few months for sure. I think the last time we checked in here, with the Superhoenix community was just after Breakpoint, which again, that was a big push, and we had a lot of cool things kind of come from that. A lot of great meetings and the interactions, and then just getting some good visibility out there for the project. All that's been really positive. And so some of the things I've got going on now are finally starting to roll out or come to fruition based on some of those, the meetings and the interactions you have with people, and then kind of continue that further. So, so I kind of want to jump into it. I guess real quick, I'll kind of just hit on the main points that I want to cover here today to just get everybody, like I said, kind of up to speed on what we've been doing the last few months. First thing is going to be diving right into the Superhoenix sweep, right? So kind of the marketing campaign, the big giveaway that we just kind of announced, last week. and that first Star Atlas badge is kind of out there for folks who have taken a look at it. But obviously, that's just the beginning of kind of a larger promo. So I'll dive into that in a minute. I want to touch on obviously the DAO token because that's still coming and kind of in the future. And there's some thought process and things we've been working on about that to get it ready. The other big pieces then related to kind of what we've had on the docket for a bit is the NFT staking. And so I've got some updates for that, which I think are really, really great. We'll kind of go over. And then I know I've dropped, some hints and stuff in the past about portals and our integration that we're looking to do with them. I can touch on that a little bit too. And then we've got a couple of newer things that are coming around, which again, I'll roll into. We've got some stuff that's going to be related to kind of the new racing component that Star Atlas is doing. There's some stuff we're really digging into right now with AI, and specifically, I don't know how many folks have paid attention to the Virtuals protocol that recently announced they're coming over to Solana. So that was one of the things that also kind of moved the needle a little bit forward or pulled that timing a little bit forward for us to take a look at. And then the last piece is going to be related again to kind of the NFTs, and we're looking at kind of reopening potentially just a limited edition for kind of the mint and some of that stuff kind of post promotion as we go through the next month or two here. So anyway, I'll kind of dive back in, but that's the gist of it. So back to the Superhoenix sweep. The whole idea is to kind of get some attention going again, get some momentum going again. Obviously things, after Breakpoint kind of take a little bit of a lull. We get into having a lot of those background conversations, and then we kind of rolled into the holidays. Everybody takes a break, and that's sort of where we're at now. Is everyone's full steam ahead, kind of building and moving forward. And so a lot of great calls, communications, working on partnerships and projects that we've been kind of moving with. So the Superhoenix sweep and the whole campaign is, again, to get people kind of involved again, bring stuff to the table. And obviously to do that, usually the best way is to have some decent giveaways. So that's kind of what we're doing. And the idea is we're using our badges, right? So it's kind of another version of our whole kind of badge system to create, free to mint NFTs for folks to, get involved and have a reason to kind of jump in and check out what we're doing and what's going on. And so the idea is we're using the badge NFTs as kind of your ticket or your pass to be included in the kind of major drawing that we're doing at the end of February. And so try to make it as simple as possible, without jumping through a bunch of hoops or Zeely quests or that stuff. It's really just getting awareness, getting new folks in some of these other communities that I've been talking to and working with. Again, we obviously have a huge support from, Star Atlas and all of our core folks that are here, which is great. And we want everybody to be involved, which is why we kind of started with the Star Atlas branded badge last week that anybody can go in and grab, which is great. And so not only it's a collectible, but it's kind of kicks off the whole process here of what we're doing to get in, get the badge. Within the next few days or next week at the latest, we'll have kind of everything updated for all the different badge contracts we're going to have in Discord. So that way everyone can get that new kind of community badge role verified and assigned to them. And that role is really what's going to be kind of the entrance to the raffle at the end. So that's kind of the first phase. The next piece of this, which literally we're wrapping up here today, and I'll be in contact with guild leaders this week in the next couple of days, is that in addition to kind of the Star Atlas badge everyone's seen, we're also branding kind of unique guild community badges, which I thought would be, it's kind of a cool way to acknowledge, all the partner guilds that we've had since day one. And obviously, give kind of an additional, very cool collectible type of item, to all of our folks, again, in Star Atlas who support Superhoenix and everything we're doing. So the reality is how we decided to do it was we kind of left it up to the guilds. And so depending on which guild you're a member of, your guild leadership and inside the Discords or inside, however they kind of get most of their communications out, we're going to have a specific, unique link, effectively a web link, that they'll be able to disseminate out to their own guilds and their own guild members that will allow people to go to kind of a unique version of our badge minting page and will allow people to do a free mint of their own kind of unique guild represented Superhoenix badge. So We hope that that's kind of cool. People like it. Like, again, it's, it's a way that you're kind of into what we're doing with our whole badge thing in Super Phoenix, but also a way that folks can kind of rep their own community, right, overall, which would be very slick. And obviously we want the badges to have a bit more connection and utility down the road. There's some cool things we're thinking about with kind of like a staking pool. I'll get into that stuff much more later, but just a way to create some kind of attached value to it long term. And then ultimately, getting these to someday become in-game, kind of three-dimensional in-game items, collectibles, wearables. That's ultimately going to be kind of the long-term goal with them. And so I think it'll be very cool to have some of these kind of original, guild branded badges as just part of the overall collection. So we're excited about it. I think it's very cool. And we're, really happy to bring kind of the guilds of Star Atlas in, first to kind of jump in, check this out, get their hands on some unique NFT items, related to what we're doing. On the same note, though, we're also using the program, obviously, to reach out to communities outside of Star Atlas. So that's kind of going to be the next phase. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be having little announcements with each of those individual communities. There's a few of the pretty popular NFT communities on Solana that I've been talking to, and some I'm currently working out final details with, to be able to incorporate them and get them a unique, similar branded badge in the same idea. Bring them in, get them to check out what we're doing at Super Phoenix, and then also use the badge as a way for them to, be able to contribute and be part of the end drawing, right? And so obviously we've talked about portals a bit. And so I've gotten, that community to really start to pay attention to what we're doing. But there's a little bit more connection there, which I'll get into in a few minutes. But I've had really good conversations with communities over at Wilder World, some of the Wolves DAO folks, some of the Neo Tokyo folks, again, as I've been in touch with them for a while. And then, working and talking to some of the, like I said, the big NFT communities, right? Like folks like Mad Lads and Claynosaurs and Galactic Geckos. And we'll try to pull in as many of those folks as we can too, with kind of the badge promo and just kind of extending that, that idea of, hey, just come and check it out. It's a free mint. And we've got a lot of stuff we're going to give away, and hopefully it gets some eyeballs on it and, begins to bring other folks into the fold that maybe are not totally familiar with Star Atlas and everything we have going on. So again, just kind of goes with the larger vision and mission of Superhoenix DAO, is helping to be that bridge to other communities. I think that covers. Oh, well, go ahead.
It is fantastic, isn't it?
Trying to make it that way. I guess we can talk about the prizes real quick. Maybe that's what people are thinking about too.
Shut up about all this stuff. Give us the prizes.
Right. Where's the stuff? So the plan is we'll kind of, the badges will be available to folks here starting real soon, like I said, in the next few days for guilds, and then in the next week or two for other communities. But we want to give everybody plenty of time to mint their badge. So we're going to leave everything open until the end of February, which is then and we'll send out reminders and stuff too. So we make sure folks are getting their roles and are, entered in for the drawings. But we tried to make the massive drawing package, genuinely appealing, not just from a marketing standpoint, but even for people to participate and genuinely come and check it out, right? So obviously one of the big ticket items that we can give away up front is kind of pre-access to, the DAO token, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But, giving out 1 million DAO tokens is a pretty significant feat, even the way this is structured. And not so everyone just gets a few, handfuls or something small. We kind of broke it down into about 20 winners, that are going to get their share of that 1 million tokens each. So a fair amount. We're talking at face value, 1 million tokens. When we launch, face value of 1 million tokens should be $150,000 based on our projected outgoing price that we're shooting for down the road. So that's obviously one of the big ones. But then, of course, we want to integrate everything that we're talking about in the communities we're attached to, right? So we're giving away a lot of Star Atlas stuff as well. We've got about 100 extra small racing ships, and the plan is kind of break that out into about 25 winners. So the reality is about 25 winners will get one of each, right? So that'll be 4 per winner, and it'll be, an X4, a Unabomber, an Opal Jet, and Fimble Air Bike, right? That kind of thing. So again, a lot of people already kind of know, and that's cool. And that'll be, folks in Star Atlas will be, I think, it's all helpful. It's good, kind of supports again, the community and all of that. But my hope, though, too, is that some of those winners might be some of those people from outside communities, right? So then again, getting their hands on maybe a ship from Star Atlas that they haven't really checked out before or didn't bother to go to the marketplace and buy or look into. That's just another hook. Maybe we think that kind of helps with folks to bring them in the fold. And then the same idea goes with the crew packs. We've got about, what is it? I think 15 of the 5-pack platinums. So we'll give away, the 5-pack platinum crew packs to about 15 winners, I think. And then we've got a couple of bigger ones, right? We're giving away the Tursic. So we've got one Tursic ship. We'll just that'll just be, out of the hat and someone qualifies and gets it. And then we pivot over to a couple of items from portals, right? So again, we're working with that team, and I'll go into that a little bit here in a minute, but the prizes now, this is where, the folks who are part of the portals ecosystem and have been starting to pay attention to a little bit of what I've been talking about maybe on X, or have popped into the Discord a few here and there, they're going to be much more aware of what some of the portals NFT assets are and what they're about. Just like maybe, I'm sure there's a good amount of Star Atlas folks that probably didn't even know what portals was until maybe I started mentioning it, a month or two back, just little drops here and there, which is great. That's the whole idea, is to try and integrate, some of these gaming platforms that are all built on Solana with the idea of kind of interoperability. And so anyway, those couple of portals gifts that we've got, it's kind of interesting. There's 10 sword NFTs. So these are kind of wearables that your character would run around in any portals environment and could wear. And it's kind of slick. It's kind of this little, purplish Solana colored sword item that was created just for Breakpoint this past year. So the portals folks kind of created X amount, and they, put them out in different giveaways and different stuff. We've got a little pack of those. And so we're going to be giving those away to 10 additional winners. And again, these are Solana NFTs, just like any other. You can go look them up. You can, buy them, trade them. They're on Tensor, etc. And turns out, I didn't realize, but the swords are fairly hot commodities at this point. I guess the supply was much lower than people anticipated. And so now this little gift we've had sitting in the inventory for a while has all of a sudden gotten a lot of attention and could be worth some real money for folks who win it, which is kind of funny, but it's great. And then the same goes for kind of the final, there's a Portals NFT. There's sort of, Portals kind of has these general faction NFTs, which they're going through a whole process right now of a whole new art studio is kind of turning these faction card NFTs into individual PFPs. And that's a big thing that they're working on. That's going to come out real soon. And there's been some decent hype about. But anyway, we've got one of the kind of tier 1 explorer faction NFT cards that we're going to give away. And I think even those have moved up quite a bit. I think Portals has had a lot of traction on those recently. Like, people have just been sweeping the floor on those things. I guess they're one of the top traded collections right now on Tensor the last few days. And I think this one in particular, even being a T1, I think it was like, I don't know, half a soul or 3/4 of a soul, maybe, back around the breakpoint time period. And now I think they're selling for 2.5 or 3 soul a piece. So again, that's a decent giveaway. And, hopefully it gets a little bit of attention from, folks in that who are familiar with those who want to, participate in what we're doing. So I think that goes through the giveaways and Superhoenix sweep. But yeah, we're happy to, if there's any questions in the chat or kind of go over any of that stuff, we'll be putting out more info on it here literally in the next couple of days, like I said, as we bring in the guilds and as we kind of publish announcements about communities on X and here in Discord.
No questions, I suppose. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
These are great prizes for all kinds of communities, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously the Tursic is a good, that's a good giveaway on kind of the Star Atlas side. And then, these couple of portal things I was talking about also have some really good kind of true tradable value if maybe that's not your thing. Or again, the idea is to just get attention, from both markets and have folks just want to come and check it out and participate and see what we got going on. So hopefully that gets us some of the traction we want, along with, me bringing as much attention to it as I can going forward. I guess I can chat about that real quick. It should only be like a minute. It's kind of my upcoming whirlwind tour here that's sort of been put together on the fly. And so today doing the town hall was a really good way to kind of kick that off, because I don't know, about a week or so, Santi reached out and they've got a spot for me on the brew tomorrow, which is great. So if you guys, listen to that or want to check in, I'll be on the brew for a few minutes tomorrow, just giving some general updates about, Superhoenix DAO and some of the stuff we're talking about here today. And then on Thursday, I'm jumping on, I think there's an X Spaces hosted by Belshi Bits, which he is kind of an influencer content creator for the Wilder World community primarily. And so a lot of those folks will be tuning in, which is great. I think I believe they had some representation from Star Atlas on one of their other ones a few weeks back that I think King Brian was on, right? Kind of talking about Star Atlas and game economy, which those got a lot of traction. And I think those X Spaces did really well. So in any case, on Thursday, I've got one of those that'll be live talking about kind of DAOs and building DAOs in these game universes. And then this will be kind of my debut. I'm going to be trying to do kind of a one-on-one interview on Thursday as well. And I'm going to try to live stream the video directly on X. So about an hour earlier than when about 2 hours earlier than when this town hall was today. So what is that? 1600 UTC. I'll be trying to live stream kind of a one-on-one interview with kind of an interviewer influencer who actually is the interviewer and content creator for Trust Wallet. So I don't know how many folks are familiar with the kind of larger company Trust Wallet. Their commentator and content person, Pav ETH, is going to be helping me out, kind of do this one-on-one and get this live stream going on X on Thursday. So this week's kind of full. But it should be good and get me in shape. And then going forward, I'm looking to book a few more of these same, X live stream X Spaces. So I've already booked time with Michael Wagner, was gracious enough to jump on with me, and we'll chat next week, Thursday, the 13th. And obviously, we'll post stuff about this in advance so everyone can tune in and check it out. But Michael and I will be kind of just chatting about all of it, updates on our stuff in the DAO, and how Superhoenix kind of fits into the larger ecosystem. And then, of course, we'll be asking him about some of the latest and greatest things moving forward with Star Atlas. And then the idea is to do the same thing a week or two out with the CEO of Portals, where we want to obviously, come out with some of the newer things that we're working with them on. And then ideally, if it all comes together, we want to do one with the folks at Wilder World probably a week after that. So again, keep everybody posted, but we got some good live streams and some interviews and stuff coming pretty much week after week here all month long, while we're doing the promo.
This is a tight schedule.
Yeah, this week kicks it off for me, and I'm diving in pretty heavy today, tomorrow, and 2 on Thursday. So but it's all good. It's all good. I'll be well oiled and practiced by the time we get to the big interviews with the CEOs, right?
Right. Absolutely.
I see. So I'm already kind of using quite a bit of time here. So I'll kind of breeze through some of the next stuff. The DAO token. So I want to make sure I talked about this because we've been talking about the token and the token launch for a while now. Originally we were targeting the end of the year, and then we kind of postponed it here to be sort of the end of this promo. Was originally the last time we chatted. And to be completely honest, we're just about ready with the tooling. We have the token minted. That's not a problem. We're working on the staking contracts for the token right now, and those will probably be ready, soon, in a matter of weeks. But the reality is, if I'm being completely honest, I think as most of us might be aware, the market conditions are just not conducive to launching, a new DAO governance token. And so as much as I hate to kind of postpone things, I do think that's the best for everybody, for the community, and for real, trying to really have a positive launch that reaches the goals we need and gets the community, the true value we want, and the liquidity and the trading and all the things that we want to happen with the token, that everyone's going to be kind of a part of or participating in, whether it's directly purchasing, whether it's investing, or if it's just, owning the NFTs and earning them through staking. I guess the reality is we certainly could launch here in the next month, but unless the market wildly changes, to kind of facilitate the liquidity and the volume that we need. I really think it's probably best for us to just keep a really close eye on kind of general crypto market conditions, and launch as we get into a better time frame and things are a little bit more appropriate for, like I said, just general demand, liquidity, and overall kind of eyes on the the Web3 gaming space. All this stuff is kind of down at the moment. I think it's very temporary, and I'm really optimistic. And I think there's a lot of reasons that will be in great shape just 2 or 3 months out. So that's certainly the plan, is to bring everything online as soon as we kind of feel like we're in a good place to do so. But I wanted to let everybody know and kind of put that out there so that we're not wondering and not worried about what's going on. I think we'll certainly have all the tools in place and everything ready to go along in advance. But again, market conditions and market timing just kind of are what they are. So we'll keep everybody in tune to that, as best we can, and make sure that everyone has, a good lead time and announcement for the actual launch and when things move forward with the actual token sale. On the other side of it, though, attached to that, though, is the NFT staking, like I mentioned. And so what I decided would be the best way to move forward is I don't want to continue to postpone utility for folks who have bought the NFTs right up to this point, because it's already been a bit of time and we recognize that. So the reality is the devs have been working pretty diligently on getting the NFT staking mechanism up and running. And so the reality is we will have the ability to stake the Cube NFTs and start earning your pro rata share of the DAO tokens in advance of the token launch. You'll still be able to earn them by staking, and we want to have that ready to go live at the end of this promo. So basically, we're targeting the first week of March, and I think we should have no problem getting that going and off the ground, because I've already seen some of the demos, and it looks great. It looks smooth. It looks slick. People will be able to go in and kind of stake and unstake cubes, individually or multiples at a time. They're broken out by kind of the different tiers and levels of cubes and the daily earnings rates for each, and all of that stuff, how it works out. It looks pretty slick, and it should be functional on mobile as well as PC, and be all routed right into the phoenixdao.com website. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I think hopefully that gives folks at least a little bit of utility with the cubes today, and we can start kind of banking up and paying attention to the earnings and where everyone's at with DAO tokens, which should only be postponed, like I said, a few months here as the market kind of gets its feet underneath it and starts moving forward to what I think we all hope is going to be a pretty successful bull market here in 2025.
Yeah. So we got a quick question from Bohemian.
Yeah.
He's asking, will the rewards on the NFT staking be retroactive to the time we purchased them or something similar?
NFT staking at the time you purchase the NFTs, not exactly, no. So typically with NFT staking, we kind of bring it online as soon as we can. How it will work is, as soon as staking goes live, everyone who has Cube NFTs can stake them immediately. You will start accruing token value immediately. And as I've mentioned before, and so it won't go back retroactive to last summer. I mean, unfortunately, we just couldn't have that ready, and there's just timing related to all of this. But I will say, so regardless of the time period between when NFT staking goes live, let's say in about a month, and then when actual public token sales go live, which could be 1 month after, could be 2 months after, I guess maybe worst case scenario is 3 months after, that period of time, you will absolutely be accumulating that token value in your NFT staking account, if you will. We won't make them claimable right away just because there isn't liquidity and the public market isn't open. But as soon as the public market opens and the tokens go live, you'll be able to claim everything that you've been staking from day one and instantly have access to all those tokens, no problem. So there won't be any delay or lockup or anything related to those. So we want to make sure everyone's getting credit for that. And the reality with the NFT staking is, I can give a little bit of background on it. It's slightly different than just a general pool that's first come first serve. we have a massive pool of tokens dedicated to the NFT staking program. Approximately 20% of the total supply of all DAO tokens are going to be dedicated to that staking pool. But the emissions rate that you earn is based on the level of cube you have. So, a T1 earns at a certain rate, a T2 earns at double that rate, et cetera, et cetera. And so obviously the more cubes you have, the faster your daily rate is. However, the real benefit is because we did kind of guarantee sort of those minimum buckets of token amounts for each cube that you purchased, that will absolutely be fulfilled so long as you stake your cube for at least a 6-month period. So during that first 6-month period, your emissions rate is going to equal that initial kind of promised airdrop amount, no matter what. And that doesn't matter if 10 people are staking or if 1,000 people are staking. Everyone will get to that 6-month mark and have achieved, a staking return of that initial promised value. Now, the real benefit here comes from the timing. So the sooner you start, the sooner people jump in when NFT staking goes live, the more you're going to earn over the lifetime of holding and staking that NFT. Because once we cross kind of that 6-month time period, your emission rate just keeps on going, just keeps trucking, and you'll just continue to earn along with everyone else who's staked until the entire 20% pool of tokens has been exhausted over time. So technically that's going to depend on, how many people have NFT cubes and how many people stake them over a long period of time. But the reality is if everyone who just had their cubes today all staked 100% on day one, we probably have about a 5-year run on NFTs earning rewards at those reward rates. So it's substantial. Now, obviously, we want to get more NFTs out into people's hands. We want to grow the community. Ideally, people will then bring those in and and stake some more. And so it's probably not realistic to think that the 5-year time frame is going to remain that way, of course, and it'll reduce as more people join the pool. But the point is, anything beyond 6 months is going to be kind of bonus and additional to what we were all originally, including as the original airdrop amount. So again, getting them locked in early is the best way to make sure that you kind of get as much or more than what the original, intended values were, which I think can really compound for folks and pay off long term if you have maybe a couple of cubes and you let them ride for a good period of time. And once everything goes live with tokens and trading, obviously we'll also have DAO token staking itself. So all these tokens you've been earning with your NFTs, if you don't want to sell them immediately that day, you can flip them over into the DAO token staking pool, right? And so that's where we can start to actually compound, some of these earnings, both from being a cube holder, as well as part of the community and a token holder.
Pretty well explained. The Cracker of Fun has 2 questions. So the first one, I'll just do the second one first. He's asking, if I start staking after a few months, I theoretically could lose out on some of the Ember mentioned in the white paper.
Theoretically, yes. I see where you're going with that. So theoretically, yes. If you don't stake your cubes, you don't get the tokens. That's true. But like I said, the token pool is the NFT staking pool is so large. It's about 10x those original committed amounts. And because we've only sold, about 10% of the total NFT collection, it's a massively, the pool is massively larger than that initial promised amount. So you're right. If you get in late and the pool were to be at its end and getting exhausted, that's true. You would lose out on that. But again, I think anyone who's here, who's participating and interested, the staking process is going to be extremely simple. And as long as your cube is in the staking pool for any 6-month period of time over the life of the pool, you'll earn that minimum amount. And you can pull it in and out. You could, sell them, trade them, come back later. And like I said, we foresee the pool's going to have enough tokens to run for at least, on the conservative side, a couple of years, and then again on the longer side, it could be closer to 4 or 5. So that's pretty much how it's designed.
Yeah,
and yeah, I think there's some good benefits there for cube holders for sure.
Absolutely. And the second question is the elephant in the room.
Yes.
The ship drops.
The ship drops. Yes, the elephant in the room. No problem. Yep. Yeah. Not trying to dodge it by any means. I know that's on top of folks' minds. I'll talk about that, I guess, in line with some of the investor conversations I've had. They've obviously taken longer than anticipated, as we all know, probably toward the end of this year, and now even in the beginning of 2025. Investment capital is a little bit scarce. I've had phenomenal conversations with a couple of pretty significant investors who are very interested in the DAO token case. As a matter of fact, there's another one I'll be following up with again this week. And these are the amounts of funds that basically we need to lock in and solidify so that I can complete the final purchase order with Star Atlas for the ship airdrops, and locking in the actual Superhoenix itself to get it into Sage and start earning revenue. So do we have that lined up as of today? Still not officially. However, I'm extremely optimistic based on a couple of the current conversations that are in talks and in the works right now. And then in addition to that, I think, if I'm being honest, I do believe that the marketing campaign we're doing right now and some of the outreach to some of the other communities, I truly believe is going to rustle up enough new participation and new demand from folks who want to be a part of what we're building, not just in Star Atlas, but also across the other communities with the Superhoenix DAO, that I think getting folks interested enough to buy into some of our NFTs that we're offering, and then eventually, the public sale with the token. Those, between the two of those, for sure, we'll be able to meet all the funding goals we need to get everyone, those original ships as promised, and ideally, actually sooner. If I can close a couple of these deals, and potentially have a limited offer for some additional NFTs after the staking goes live, we should be able to kind of close the gap on some of the last little tranches of funding we have to cover that. Yep. I would agree. I appreciate it, Funcracker. Yeah, I think we're on track. The sentiment is phenomenal. The conversations are great, but getting folks to part with, hundreds of thousands of dollars right this minute is a little tricky, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it's been some rocky couple of weeks lately, so I guess everybody's on edge.
Yeah, and I think this is par for the course. Anyone who's followed crypto markets for some time, as we get into these bull phases, it's really, really common to have these pullbacks like this, especially this time of the year, right? December was pretty strong. January's been pretty rough. And then if things track the way they have in the past, we'll see. But typically, things start to turn around in February, and then we have the potential to go on an absolute, monster run into March, April, and May. So we'll see if that kind of plays out, or if it's in the cards as usual, which then, of course, as I said, liquidity opens up, things start flowing, and the opportunities are just abound. So the reality is, though, positioning ourselves today, getting out there now, getting the attention, extending to these other communities, and kind of working on the things we're building in the background. I think all those are really the important things that we need to have ready, so that when the market is ready to spend some money, we're kind of there with everything teed up, ready to go, right? So I feel good about our timing, and I feel good about, everything we've pulled together so far. And so with that, I can kind of roll into a little bit of an update on portals. I'll be honest, I don't want to give a full spoiler on everything yet, just because we've got some cool content that I'm hoping to get out in a couple of weeks. And then obviously trying to line up a chat with their CEO is really kind of the goal here later in February. But I can say, we have officially created a partnership with the portals team, which they've been wonderful in kind of helping us out there. And the whole idea, I feel, has been really good, like really synergistic with what we're trying to do, in that, at the end of the day, I think there's been Web3 and gaming has always kind of had the mantra of, we want to own our NFTs, we want to own our game assets, and we want to be able to do different things with them, right, across different platforms. Now, that really hasn't come to fruition much. There's a few cases here and there, but for the most part, everything is still early. And so games like Star Atlas and games like Portals and games like Wilder World, they're all still kind of head down building their own games, which makes complete sense. That's the phase we're in. So there's not a lot of cross collaboration or incentive to get some additional utility, cross platform. But I kind of realized as I was having these conversations the last couple months, I'm seeing this as a huge opportunity for Superhoenix DAO, just because we're building the brand, we're building the entertainment and social kind of fabric within the Web3 gaming space. And obviously our core being in Star Atlas is phenomenal, and we've had massive support. And the fact that Star Atlas has such an amazing build program and is willing to share kind of their IP, out to the world for different products and services and all the things we've seen builders make within the Star Atlas ecosystem is phenomenal. So that gives us kind of the ability to take, some of the Star Atlas type stuff and bring it with us when we're moving out into other Web3. And then on the other side of it, we came across Portals, obviously, and got to meet and chat with the team, during Breakpoint, which was phenomenal. And it's almost a perfect fit in a way, because Portals, they're also on Solana. So we've got, some really good interoperability and kind of ease of use there on chain. But the idea with Portals is they're the perfect receiver for all of this. Portals is looking to be the Roblox of Web3. And so their whole premise is they want builders. They want people who are going to build spaces and build mini games and build experiences inside of Portals. And they're happy to accommodate user-generated IP, right? So anything you want to bring in the game, mint your own NFTs, create your own objects, create your own wearables. That's their whole idea. That's the mentality. And so this was just an amazing fit for us to basically talk to Star Atlas and say, hey, can we use some of this stuff that you guys want to kind of create almost open source in a way, not quite, but through the program, and then work with Portals to see if we can integrate some of this into a new space that we can build in Portals. And so everyone's been really optimistic about it, and I think we're becoming the conduit for that, which I'm really excited about. So the idea is we're going to start with just some of the extra small ships in Star Atlas, and begin to create a place where we can give utility to folks who have extra small ships in Star Atlas, and give them some fun utility in kind of a small, event space or entertainment space in Portals that's still based on and themed on Superhoenix DAO, the Superhoenix Titan ship, and kind of bringing that lore and that idea and that gameplay, adjacent to Star Atlas, but into a new community. So again, for us, it's introducing a whole bunch of Portals players to what Star Atlas is and what Superhoenix DAO is, and then also being able to create a direct link back to Star Atlas for them, right? And that's a cool part. One of the things that Portals will offer is the ability to have little kiosks and things inside the game space that allow people to just directly interface with the marketplace, let's say, and they can purchase a Star Atlas NFT and then hang out in Portals with it. That's phenomenal, right? And then vice versa. We can give some cool additional utility to folks in Star Atlas who already have these assets and are already playing them in Showroom or on the new racing module. So again, we're pretty excited about where this can go, and kind of using almost Portals as another route for exposure and distribution, if you will, of kind of the Star Atlas meta, I guess, right? So anyway, we're pretty excited about it. I think there's some really cool opportunities, and it's going to be really fun to show you guys what we've been building and what we've been working on between the two teams. So that's what's more to come in the next couple of weeks. But again, the idea is to not just even focus on what we're doing here at Superhoenix, but get more people kind of looped into the broader scope of what Star Atlas is, and kind of the whole Web3 gaming, interoperability that folks talk about.
Yeah, this is really cool stuff. I have obviously seen a slight bit of what it actually is, and it's gonna be great, guys.
that's it from Benny. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. I keep it short. We're on the hour.
That's good.
We're almost.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm trying to buzz through here. I got 2 more topics we'll hit on quick, and then we can kind of wrap. But yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, Benny's gotten a few sneak peeks, and honestly, they're in the thick of it right now. Things are being updated and built. And so I'm looking forward to being able to getting some very cool stuff out to everybody to see visually. And then once we can go live here next month, getting that link out and just giving folks, in Star Atlas another place to truly kind of mess around and create some fun experiences, that the DAO can host, and just kind of augment onto what Star Atlas has done is in building, specifically with kind of the racing modules coming out. And so that kind of segues into my next piece, which I'll have more of this on the brew tomorrow and probably as I go forward with some of the interviews I mentioned, but I can briefly talk about one of the integrations we're working on is with Gallia Cup. The folks at Gallia Cup have been awesome. They're working obviously, on their season and their racing competition, that fully lives in UE5 and in the new racetracks and the racing module that Star Atlas is putting out, which is phenomenal. And so obviously we want to still be a big part of that if we can. And so, just helping be partially a sponsor with some of the seasons and the races that Gallia Cup's doing is something we're looking forward to, which is great. And then what this evolved into over some initial discussions and then some follow-up with my developer team, who is currently working on it right now, is I guess anyone who's maybe familiar with the U.S. and kind of our college basketball setup, we go into what's called March Madness in the month of March, where there's all the playoffs and the brackets, and there's a lot of upsets and a lot of fun, pseudo gambling that takes place during that time period here. Just betting on the teams and who's going to come out on top, and just full days of game after game after game, right? So just a lot of fun on kind of the college level basketball circuit in the tournament. And so we kind of took a kind of a spin-off of that and thought, well, is there a way that we could create a similar type of experience, built off of the new racing module that's come into play? And so that's what we're going to attempt to do here somewhere in the next couple of months. And there'll be more coming out on that as we develop it here. But I think it's very doable. And I think it's a really cool, fun way for the Superhoenix DAO to get involved, but not necessarily be, in the trenches, managing kind of the races and the matches and the racers and stuff so much as Gallia Cup is already kind of doing. And that's their thing, which is awesome. But the reality that now we have a season and we're going to have real competitors who are racing against each other, and we're going to be able to collect, stats and statistics and player rankings. This becomes a really fun dynamic for us to build something on top of, which again is what the space is all about. And so creating a tournament that not only the racers themselves can participate in, and try to win prizes and prize packages for being, maybe in the top 3 or the top 4 for the full racing competition. But the fact that we then, as the DAO, can look to semi-professionally televise this into a real spectator sport, right? So for folks who maybe are not even in the tournament or aren't participating directly in racing in Star Atlas right now, or folks who are just in Web3 generally, but maybe want to watch the race or check it out or see how things kind of play out with the tournaments and the brackets, but still want to be able to, pick their racer, right? Pick their winner. We want to offer kind of a much broader scope, bracket tournament challenge that anyone can participate in. They can just come to our website and pick winners and losers of all the one-on-one races through the tournament up front and do a submission based on all the stats that we're able to provide from Gallia Cup season. Gives people a rough idea of maybe who they want to go with, and then do kind of a huge prize at the end for anyone who has the best kind of tournament bracket pick out of them all, right? And so I think it'll be a fun thing that we can advertise, we can kind of market, and we can get a lot more attention, I think, on it than just folks who are already in Star Atlas and playing the game and racing, which obviously, everyone's invited to participate. But I think, again, having something that is appealing and is easy to do for folks who are maybe not yet familiar with the game or the space, I think will be a really cool, fun opportunity for us to get things out there and to kind of create a new, almost kind of esports type of event that we can continue to host going forward. So we're kind of excited about that one too.
Absolutely. This is so much.
Well, I guess when I don't talk to you guys for 4 months, I probably do have a little bit more on the plate than I should, right? So it's fair. Okay, one of the last couple here I'll touch on again, and this one's probably the most recent, so I won't go into too in depth in it. But as I kind of briefly touched on at the beginning, is some of the stuff we've been seeing with AI and AI agents. And I know there's been talk about that for a while with AI, NPCs and some of those things. But I would say that the technology on this is moving really quickly, which is amazing. And I'm sure there are games who are already starting to implement, and I'm sure Star Atlas has been looking into it quite a bit in different ways. I think AI is helping with code. I think AI can help with building environments, and then of course creating characters at some point. What's really interesting to me and what we're looking to pursue in the very near future, I've got some of the developers are actually reading a lot of the documents and background code on it as we speak. And I've reached out to a couple of entities that are already kind of in the trenches building some of these new AI agents, which are really built for creating true personas in the world of social media, entertainment, and gaming. And so as soon as I kind of came across this, it absolutely makes sense, right? When you talk about social media, entertainment, and gaming, that's literally where if you're going to create a Venn diagram of the Superhoenix DAO, that's us, man. We're in the middle of that. And so it feels like a really good fit, and it feels like a place for us to kind of dive in and take a look at it. And so Virtuals is the protocol that's been out there. There's a few of them, but Virtuals is one we've been watching most closely, mainly because they've had good success when they launched on Base just this past year. Many of the agents have only been around a few months, and they primarily live in social, like X or a couple other platforms. And they're already getting a lot of traction and doing a lot of really interesting things. But the Virtuals protocol wants to move toward the gaming sector and specifically entertainment personas. And obviously that fits us to a T. And then the fact that Virtuals just announced, literally, I think I was in their Discord chat yesterday, and I think by next week they want to have full implementation with Solana. And so that piques our interest, of course. Being someone on Solana who could benefit from that and who could integrate that into what we're doing, we're really interested in moving forward with what that would look like. And so the point is, I guess the bigger picture here is these AI agents effectively are using a whole bunch of different behind the scenes. They're using different AI technologies kind of seamlessly. So it might be using a language model, it might be using a visual, it might be using some kind of processing component, one of the reasoning and rational models to kind of analyze and respond. And then there's places where it will store all of its interactions in a database. And so the Virtuals protocol kind of integrates those behind the scenes and creates this kind of front end version of an AI that becomes a semi-autonomous, agent that can have its own Twitter page or X page, have its own Instagram, have its own followers, be integrated and interact with all of its followers and answer tweets and posts and DMs and all that stuff. But the next component is kind of creating that 3D character that could live and act and interact in a game space, right? And so that's where we're kind of going with it. And the cool part is, we know that the Portals team has already been chosen as one of the pilot gaming ecosystems to be working with the new Grok AI from X. So they've already implemented some basic AI agents that live in the Portals world that can do interactions with players on sort of that advanced NPC level. So again, looking at kind of both these components from two different directions, I think there's a real opportunity for us to create an AI persona agent that would embody kind of let's say, a musical entertainer that could perform in a virtual venue that the Superhoenix DAO owns and hosts, right? And then the cool part, I guess the last component of this, which is really interesting, is these AI agents that are being built right now. Some of them are trading bots, some of them are just social type influencers, etc. But the idea with the Virtuals protocol is they've built it and designed it in such a way that there is an underlying attachment to either an existing token, like in our case could be the DAO token, or if you want to spin up a new one, they kind of create a new token for you. And an automatic liquidity pool is created, and an automatic liquidity pairing with, again, a new token or your own with the already quite liquid Virtuals token in the market. And the idea is that this AI agent kind of, does its thing, right? It does its thing on socials. It can do its thing in a gaming universe. And the AI agent can earn revenue just like a person would. And these are set up so that the agents become almost like a miniature business entity, if you will. And the whole idea is that all of the revenue that the AI agent can and does generate through all of its interactions automatically 100% go back to either a buy and burn mechanism for its own token, or in our case with the DAO, it would just contribute to the DAO treasury. So the idea is creating kind of this, in-game autonomous entertainment persona that can perpetually be a full-time, earning asset for the DAO long term. And I think some of that stuff is really, really cool, where we're kind of right on the cusp of it. And I think we have a really great opportunity, considering the current partnerships we have and the current access we have, like I said, to the Solana ecosystem, and the eagerness to get some of these new agents into the entertainment space specifically. I've already talked to a couple of different incubators and investors who are really focused on helping launch projects exactly like this. So again, we're really interested in it. I think there's a couple different directions we can go with it. But ultimately, we'd love to get the community involved as well and start getting really cool brainstorming ideas, creative brainstorming ideas for how we create this persona of what we want this entity to be that, be affiliated with the DAO longer term.
And speaking of exactly that thing, that's going to be one of the giveaway events that will be coming up. Basically, it will be a competition to create some ideas similar to what we did with the theory crafting of the Superhoenix interior way back. So basically, competition for ideas around persona itself, what it does, who it is, what's the name, what it looks like, whatever. And then there will be a series of voting and etc. to find a winner or something like that. And there will be prizes to the top ones. There will be a list of prizes as we announce it fully, but this is one of the ideas that we have for upcoming events for this persona. As I kind of took the word, I suppose I could tell about the other one as well.
Sure. Yep, no problem. Go for it.
And that will be the first one. There will be one more kind of event, big one, giveaway, which will be kind of similar, but to a space that we can. How do you say this? A space that we can a theory craft an idea that can be used inside the Superhoenix, and an idea that we can potentially build inside said, for example, portals in the Superhoenix. So it could be, now obviously we're building a racing track as you already mentioned, but maybe some concert venue, a club, whatever you guys can think of. There will be more details about that competition and the prizes and all that stuff as well as we close in that. That will be the second one. The third big event giveaway thing that we will host will be way further out before the actual Amber launch. And that will be a live auction of some of the top prizes that we have in our prize pool. By top auction, you might wonder, why the hell do I have to auction for my free giveaway? Monetarily, it's free. So I will also announce some of this stuff. But on Discord, I will enable an economy that works through the Superhoenix bot that we have, which will allow you to earn funny Discord money every day, and there will be tasks and small battle royales and stuff for extra coins. And the idea is that you can engage in Discord and earn these coins and stack up a big chunk of them, and then you can use these to the live auction of the prizes. So yeah, you can basically win some things that you really want, or maybe it's then pretty cool, I'd say. But yeah.
Sounds good. No, I agree, Benny. I think it'll be a lot of fun while we're kind of doing this promo, and we're, getting more folks, hopefully, popping into the Discord and kind of checking everything out, especially from some of the other communities, running with this idea of not just the AI and kind of that persona, but, I think as we move forward, we do want to focus on kind of some of the entertainment experiences that we'll be able to offer, through the DAO, potentially in another new portals environment, things like that, for folks to truly, start to experience some of the things we've talked about, prior to these spaces being fully available in Star Atlas, in the future. And so, including the community, kind of making it a fun way for folks to contribute, participate, who are kind of that creative mindset, as far as, what kind of persona would this type of AI have, all of it. We're going to be looking for the name and the likeness, imagery, what this character is going to represent and look like, the type of music genre that people like, that's, going to be part of this. And then all of that being in kind of set into what's the space going to be, right? Like, where are we going to host these events? What kind of cool, social entertainment, like you said, whether it's a club, maybe it's a more formal stage, maybe it's a coliseum, I don't know. But, those ideas are what we're going to be looking for from the community. And obviously we want to turn it into kind of a competition and get some really fun submissions, and give prizes away to folks who are really diving in and trying to kind of help us, co-create, some of the things that we could bring to fruition here in the near future. So it's really exciting. I think hopefully it'll be a lot of fun, and we can get folks involved in the community who really want to chip in and kind of participate with, building some of this stuff out.
Yeah, absolutely. Having said most of that, is there anyone that has any questions? Doesn't seem like it.
All right. Well, I think we've kind of touched on most of it, and we stayed pretty close to time, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I know I kind of briefly mentioned the NFTs. I guess just to be clear on that, I think the main focus of this is having the NFT staking going live at the end of this kind of marketing and promo. That hopefully, like I said, we can, bolster the community a little bit. We can have some of these creative competitions running the next few weeks, throughout these new announcements and exposure. And then, at the kind of culmination of this, having the NFT staking go live, giving some utility to folks who are been holding on to our data cubes for a bit, and then ultimately anticipating, maybe a few weeks, make sure that's up and running and everything is solid, and folks are on board with kind of getting their NFTs in there and making sure everything works the way it should. Since the hope is to be onboarding new community members, the thought is that we would do another kind of limited edition, open mint of some additional cubes, right? So similar to how we did it last summer, we could open up the mint for just a short period of time, or probably just have a cap on the number of cubes total, to keep it pretty reasonable, so we're not flooding supply or having issues that way. But I think the reality is we've got some great holders now who have stuck with us this whole time, are finally going to get a little bit of utility, with kind of banking up some of those tokens before the public launch. And the idea is now, if we get new folks coming in from some of the marketing efforts and the promotions and the other communities, it feels like, we may want to have an entrance for folks to kind of contribute and jump in. And I think there was a lot of positive feedback with, the original mint kind of being a randomized mint. So there was always that chance that you could get maybe a little bit more rare NFT. That's kind of the idea we're still thinking about going with, after, like I said, we get through the marketing campaign. But just to be clear, we will not be kind of adding on some of the extra perks and drops and promos that, folks who jumped in early, did get and are promised and will get as we wrap those up. So I do want to make that differentiation just so, nobody thinks they've been they're getting diluted or left behind on any of this stuff from that aspect of it. So and we'll keep minting prices exactly the same. So we're not altering any of that. We're not affecting any of what people originally jumped in with. But I think obviously the idea is to allow a little bit more access here as we grow and we have some of these kind of new events, coming online and experiences for people. I feel like that's a good, healthy way to move forward with it, but not, negatively impact any of the current folks that we have made commitments to and have stuck with us this whole time. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think as there's no more questions, I think we've ran through pretty much everything and kept it on the hour. So I am quite impressed, actually.
I appreciate it. I honestly thought I was going to go over as well, but
Yeah, it started looking a bit grim there a little bit back, but yeah, no, I think it was good, and we've gone through some of the updates, and if people have any questions, whether you're listening into this town hall a bit later on YouTube or something, just feel free to reach out in the chat and let us know whatever questions or things you wonder about, and we'll be try to make the best answers we can for it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. This is great. And like I said, I'll make sure to put announcements out on X about some of the upcoming chats and interviews as they get scheduled and as we put them out there. And obviously, I encourage anybody to hop in if you can live. Otherwise, everything will be recorded and kind of put out later. But yeah, this is a really good overview, I think, for where we're at and what we've been working on the last few months. And hopefully, we can kind of get a few more details on some of these specific categories over the next few weeks for everybody. And like I said, just get a lot of new good content out there in sort of the ramp up to finally delivering some of the things we've been, that we've had on the roadmap here for, well, pretty much from day one.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. That's great. So thanks everybody for checking in, listening in, and participating as usual. And I wish you all a great rest of the day.